What's up, Supernatural superfans?
It's Nate and Krissy, your hosts of
Gank That Drank, the Supernatural Drinking Game Podcast.
It's the podcast where we make up drinking game rules for a favorite episode of our favorite show, Supernatural.
We recap the episode for you and let you know how all the rules played out.
Then we let you know the drinking game rules for the next episode, so you can play along.
But we want to talk to you today about becoming an exclusive member of Gank That Drank, a Supernatural drinking game podcast.
Becoming a member is just $5 a month. It's easy to do, and it helps keep the podcast going, bringing you more fresh drink to gank. Or gank to drink, whatever.
One of those two. Plus, members get every episode early and ad-free,
with some extra bonus content at the end of each episode as a member exclusive.
We play games, we talk trivia, we chat about what we were watching besides Supernatural.
We talk about our lessons learned from each episode, and sometimes give you a geographical zoom in on the towns or areas the episodes take place in.
We have fun! Ha 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 ha. And we gank those drinks, and we want you to be a part of it.
So join us and become a member at truestory.fm/gankthatdrink.
And when you're out there in the world saving people and hunting things,
you know, the family business.
Keep the Gank That Drank motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Before we dive in, here's another show you can enjoy in the True Story FM family of entertainment podcasts.
Do you like movies?
Do you like sports?
I never played that sport on the screen, but I really enjoyed how the movie made me feel.
Well then, have we got a show for you. The Adrian Moment is where my friend Ocean and I discuss the triangulation of sports, movies, and life.
We dive deep into the movies, discussing how they relate to and have affected our lives.
We will talk about why the sport matters to the movie, why you don't have to love the sport to enjoy the movie, and mine a few nuggets of meaning inside the story you may not have realized was really there.
After listening to our show, come join us for more conversations about the movies that portray the thrill of victory
and the agony of defeat.
Find the Adrian Moment podcast on your favorite podcast app and join us while we cover the sports you love and the ones you never think about.
You will never see sports or sport movies the same again.
Hey, psst. Hey, you see that Snickers over there? If no one's looking, you should just take it.
No! Don't listen to him, my son. That would be stealing, and stealing is a sin.
Sin Schmin, it's a freaking Snickers bar. You deserve to have it. Sinning really satisfies you.
Repent, my child. Virtue is the only real snack worth savoring. For that candy bar is merely a gateway to nougat damnation. Has this ever happened to you?
Listening to the devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, and you're not sure what to think?
Then we're here to help. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Tommy Metz III, and this season on All the Feelings, we're examining the 7 deadly sins.
You know, the fun ones.
And the 7 heavenly virtues.
Which are also a thing. Through personal stories, historical oddities, and way too much embarrassment, we take you on a thrilling journey through all the goods and the bads you hear about in church.
But without all that pesky church stuff. So come join us for All the Feelings Season 9, a sometimes funny podcast about being human. All the sins, all the virtues,
all in one place. Go to allthefeelings.fun to learn more, or subscribe to All the Feelings wherever you get your podcasts.
Game over.
Hello and welcome to
Gank That Drank,
a Supernatural drinking game podcast. I am one of your hosts, Krissy Lenz, director of the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona, and with me as always is
Nate McWhorter, performer and teacher and other such purveyor of things at the Neighborhood Comedy Theater in downtown Mesa, Arizona.
We are both Supernatural super fans, and what we're going to do today is watch a favorite episode of the classic series Supernatural and play along with some drinking game rules. We're going to tell you what the episode is. We're going to tell you what the rules are. And then if you want to, play along, you can either pause it, watch the show, play along, and then come back to us. Or you can just listen to us do the recap. It's up to you. But we are going to recap the entire episode of the show. We're going to talk about the series in its entirety now that it's been gone for over a year. We can talk about everything that happens. We're not going to pretend we don't know what happens at the end.
Yeah.
And we're going to play along with the drinking game rules. So Krissy, chose this episode, and I set the drinking game rules. I'm going to do the recap. Nate is going to be, of course, as always, providing his color commentary. And then Nate is to do a special segment at the end.
Yes. I'm excited about that.
I am too.
I'm very excited about it.
I
was also excited about this episode and this game.
This is season 6, episode 15. So we are smack dab in the middle of season 6. This episode is The French Mistake.
In a world where the real and the unreal collide, two brothers will find themselves on a soundstage.
Marker, Jared, Jensen, that was just great.
And on that soundstage, they'll learn to live.
These are words in the script.
Love.
How's work today?
And play the actors who play them in real life.
You're Jensen Ackles, and I'm something called a Jared Padalecki. What, now you're Polish?
And by real life, we mean on television, of course.
Put makeup on us, those bastards.
It's an unstoppable,
The friggin' prop.
unmissable, heart-pounding, totally twisted, all hell breaks loose, yourself kind of episode.
Looks like we're gonna have to do a little acting. What? Action!
And that's just the first 5 minutes.
That's...
Supernatural. All new this Friday at 9, 8 Central on the CW. Run! Next Friday, the boys crash into a world
That was just great.
where they're not themselves.
It's a TV show.
Because they're themselves.
You're Jensen Ackles, and I'm Jared Padalecki. What, now you're Polish?
Supernatural. For a longer look at next week's episode, go to CWTV.com.
And here are the drinking game rules that we are playing along with. Take one drink for a pop culture reference, which includes a social media reference.
Take one drink for a season 6 reference or exasperated exclamation.
Take one drink for an angel vanishing or appearing.
Take one drink for at least they're talking.
Yeah, anytime someone makes any sort of intimation of that phrase, at least they're talking to each other.
At least they're talking.
Take one drink anytime there is a real life thing, like Jensen's soap opera appearance or Jared and Genevieve's wedding photo.
Yeah. Take a sip. Teeny tiny sip. I cannot stress how important it is that you sip anytime someone dies in this episode.
And take a shot when we see wings. And then also take a shot when you see a big wink.
Oh, okay.
Which I forgot to include. Take a shot whenever you see the big wink.
The big wink.
So I'm going to give you some context at where we are in the supernatural world, because if you're anything like me, everything is always and never. There's a lot happens over the course of 15 seasons. So season 5, what came right before this was the last season they thought they were going to do. And they, every season renewal was like, oh, we're lucky to get this far. So season 5 was the story of Michael the Archangel and Lucifer the Archangel trying to take over Sam and Dean as their vessels and do the big world-ending fight or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the last episode of season 5, which is called Swan Song, is the episode where they're fighting. Lucifer has possessed Sam. It's the power of love from Dean saves them, because Sam ends up going into the cage with Lucifer and Michael and Adam, their conveniently plotted half-brother.
Very conveniently plotted.
Then season 6, Sam spends some time without a soul. And the main arc of this season is that they are hunting the alphas along with their grandpa Campbell, who is from Mitch Pileggi, who is best known, I think, for the X-Files. And they are
Yes.
hunting
Skinner.
Skinner is hunting the alphas of each species, thinking that if they somehow could kill the alphas of each species, they would undo all of monster kind.
Yeah.
And so that's and then there's of course the war in heaven and a lot of shenanigans going on with angels and Crowley and Castiel and that. So there's a lot of
It's a good time. It's a good time.
There's a lot of hoo-ha with angels and demons.
The sweet spot.
And so
one of the
that's
sweet
where
spots.
we're at when we begin Supernatural season 6 episode 15, The French Mistake. We get a nice little recap. The then is, shows us a lot of things, including Genevieve Padalecki as Ruby, in case we forgot her from way back in the day.
Right.
They're on some kind of a hunt at Bobby's place. Bobby's place is our headquarters at this point in time. And Bobby's out on a snack run because they are out of Hunter's helper. All of a sudden, here comes Balthazar. Take one drink for an angel appearing.
Oh, in the then segment, you needed to do a shot for wings.
Oh,
by the way, are we doing this now? Are we doing that? We're going over what happened.
You know what? I didn't count what was happening in the recap, but you're right. We should.
Oh,
I didn't.
You should. Yeah, you should. Because there's two people die, at least two people die, because you have a Ruby death scene, and you have and then yes, you have wings right out the gate. That's the very first thing. So I started this episode by doing a shot of whiskey to start the night because I was like, oh, it's in the then sequence. We're doing it.
I didn't count the then sequence, so that'll be a point of some debate. Hey, people, let us know what you think. Should the then count?
I do. I think it should count. I think it's part of the episode. I think if you're watching, I don't know, bonus content, because if you watch the DVDs, you don't get the then and now,
it's
right?
True.
If
Depending
you're watching,
on where you watch it, you don't necessarily get the then or now. I'm of course watching it on Netflix.
Right. Yes, as am I. So shout out Netflix.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So Balthazar shows up. And he's doing his own. Yeah, take a drink. He's doing his own walk and talk, where he's walking and he's talking. He is digging around through Bobby's house, looking for the ingredients of a spell, where he explains to the guys in a long pop culture reference that this is the scene in The Godfather where Michael Corleone takes out all of the heads of the other 5 families. So they need to run. They need to watch out. He gives them a key to.
He pops in and out twice, doesn't he?
No.
So
he just
you take
walks
2
out
drinks,
of the room.
end up
taking.
taking.
Pop.
Oh, he just. I thought he literally goes and because he's looking for. I thought because he went anyway. No wonder I was getting some drink. I was making up reasons anyway. I thought I really did think it was 3 times in the scene that he literally poofs and comes back because he's looking for different things they need for the spell or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm crazy.
No. That's why
Not important.
That's why we both watch it. I thought he was leaving the room, but maybe you're right. And he's doing a spell. I love the line, Singer really does keep a beautiful pantry. The character of Balthazar, I feel was underutilized. He's a fun character. He's so well acted.
The actor's great.
He's so sassy and charming, and I love him. So there's also a great scene where he tells the boys, you're going to go where I throw you, whether you like it or not. So he gives them a key and tells them to run. Just as Virgil, the angel, appears. And before they can fight or do anything, bada boop, the boys are shoved through the window and they fall on these pads, these big pads. The window is
Yeah.
rubber. They're surrounded by the cast, the crew on a film set, and it's Supernatural, the TV show. We get the actor approximating Bobby Singer and the other writers and directors, and the line from Sam and Dean is like, should we be killing anyone? Should we be running? They're not sure what's happening, but they're on a set. And immediately, Jensen gets whisked away to take off his makeup, and Jared gets taken away to do an interview with like an Entertainment Weekly type thing.
Yes.
And then,
so do you count that as a real thing? For our
No.
baseline of like real things happening when he's being interviewed as Jared Padalecki, are we counting that
no,
as
I'm talking
being a
I'm
real
talking about
thing?
things
Okay.
that really are true in the real world. Like, yes, he is Jared Padalecki and he would get interviewed, but I'm saying like, oh,
Right.
that really is his wedding picture. This really is footage
Okay.
of Jensen. These really are tweets
Right.
that the
Okay.
actor Misha Collins tweeted out.
Tweet. Yeah.
That
Okay.
kind of thing. Something that is true
Gotcha.
in the real world. So if that interview had appeared somewhere, if it had been a real interview
Right.
with Entertainment Weekly, then yes. But no, I'm talking about things that are really
Okay.
true, real life items in the real world.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay. Thank you for the clarity.
yes, I realized that would be a confusing one.
Yeah, that was the one that kind of the whole time I was like, I mean, there's obviously like the whole thing is real life, so like where are we drawing the line? Like that's what I didn't. I tried to make judgment calls.
Yeah, and I would
on it,
say like
I
it really
think.
like it's up to you. It depends on how much you want to drink because it's like maybe 3
Yeah,
or 4
yeah.
things if you're like, no, this is something that truly happened in our real reality and it's evidence of that, then take a drink. If you wanted to just be like, oh, haha, they're doing, they really Jensen has a trailer, drink. Jared has a home,
Right.
drink. Like,
Does he really have the fish tank, or did he really have the fish tank in the
and
trailer?
also the
No.
triptychs of Jared and Genevieve are not real.
Okay, yeah, that was the other. I was like, there's no way those are. But the wedding photo is real.
So that's what I
Okay.
mean. That's the difference.
Gotcha.
Okay, so they realize they're on a movie set, and Jared kind of explains this is a show called Supernatural. People are watching our lives. There's a couple of fun jokes, which I think you could count, where he's like, well, who would want to watch that? And Jared says, well, not many people do, apparently.
Well,
That is a real world thing. There are always in
Right.
danger of cancellation. They run into, so they're like, we got to get out of here. They run into Misha Collins, and at first they pray
After
to
praying to
Castiel, right?
Cass.
And then
Yeah.
they see Misha in costume walk up, and they have a really fun moment where they're like, Cass, what's going on? And he's like, Balthazar has sent us through the thing. Like, he thinks he's in character and they're running lines.
Which I love this moment because it's such a great like creative like moment, like as far as like the writing of this episode goes, because they give us like the information we need for like what's going on, what the key is, like all that, like all they sucker us into it, while also then having the fun joke with Misha. Like I it's probably one of my favorite scenes in the whole episode, because they just like very cleverly give you this bit of info that you really is crucial and that you need to figure out the episode. Anyway,
I completely agree, and I love
yeah.
I love the moments in this where you see Misha as Castiel, and then you see Misha as Misha and how like different he is. And I always thought that was so cute and charming, even though like it's Misha. So one of my fun facts is that Misha asked specifically for the writers to make him the biggest dick possible. And he didn't think that they made him enough of a dick. So he added a lot of other mean stuff of like shoving the hair lady and like, being rude to the interns and stuff.
The kid,
because that's what he
I
wanted.
love
But
that.
what I love is that his like, Misha Collins famously regrets giving Castiel that very deep gravelly voice. He was like, it was supposed to be a 3-episode arc, and all of a sudden I'm on, for 12 years, and I always have to do this deep gravelly voice, and it's like I regret that. So I thought it was funny and fun. And of course, I love Misha Collins as a participant in the annual Gish scavenger hunt. He is a hero, and I love him. Okay, so then they go into the trailer, and they're gonna make a plan. And the plan is like, okay, we need to get this stuff, and then break through the window again to try and get back home. But of course, so there is something real that happens at that moment. They watch real footage of Jensen
it's so good
on Days of
on
Our
the soap opera
Lives.
because they're like, let's Google who we are, and they look up who they are, and yes, Jensen on Days of Our Lives.
And also another this is when the wink happens. So they have the footage playing in the background of the boys walking right up and winking into the camera. So that's your big wink.
Yes. So is that I am glad I would have not made it to whatever I had to get to after
you went
watching this
someplace
episode.
after? You're insane.
No, I didn't go. No, I really didn't go anywhere. I stayed home, but it would have been a much worse day the next day if I had taken a shot at the big wink. My question is that supposed to just be like a fun haha moment, or is that supposed to be like Balthazar's trying to give them a sign that they're
no,
I don't know. Like I think it's such a weird moment. It's just a fun joke.
Just a fun joke.
That's fun. That's fun.
Okay, so then they take the Impala. The cute little intern guy's like, Mr. Ackles, please stop. Please stop driving the car. Of course, it's also
there's a stop sign for some reason.
Then they get their driver and bodyguard to take them to Jared's house. So that is he's named Cliff Klosterman, which is the real name of their actual bodyguard. So that's a fun real life thing.
Now, do they really not talk?
No. They're really best friends, and
that's what I thought. Okay,
consider each other brothers. All right, okay. So they're in Vancouver, and so when they get to they get to Jared's house, and it's so big, he makes a joke. Boy, I must be the star of this thing, which is a long running joke that Jared is the top billed person. He was the more famous at the time. And when they were first conceiving the show, it was supposed to be about Sam and like his situation. And then it became about both brothers equally. But because of like whatever, Jensen or Jared's name is first on the call sheet, which means like technically in terms of showbiz, he is the star of the show. So that was kind of an acknowledgement of that, which I thought was kind of clever.
Yes, I like that. And then I just loved everything in the house. Everything. And then the alpaca.
Yes.
Camel in your backyard.
So you got to take a drink because he really is married to the actress who played Ruby, Genevieve Padalecki.
Correct.
And that really is their wedding picture. And I love when she comes to like give him a little like how was work today smooch. She has to climb him like a tree. She has to basically scale him like she's King Kong and he's the Empire State Building, which is so cute.
And he did a great job of acting very confused as to why his wife was kissing him.
The acting
that's a hard thing to do, right? Like
is top friggin' notch. Like I don't know why they didn't all get Emmy nominations for this, because acting like you're acting is hard, and they all pull it off.
But then acting like you're bad acting, but then so you have to act in one scene you're acting like you're not acting, and then another scene you gotta act like you're not, like you are acting really hard. Like we'll get to that scene, but like it's so good.
It is, and they're all superb at it. She's going to an otter charity auction or something. And so the boys put together a plan. They're like, okay, we really do need the bone of a lesser saint. We really do need the blood of a blah, blah, blah. So they decide to use their credit cards and just buy these things. Genevieve gets home,
pick them up at the airport.
And they realize that, like, in this world, none of the crazy stuff from the last, year of their life really happened. That was all just stuff that happened on the season of their show.
I just real quick, I love there's the scene where Sam is like doing internet research, and behind him is the portrait of Jared Padalecki. Is that real with the cowboy hat?
No.
The Walker Texas Ranger like foreshadowing
portrait?
No,
and of course in the house there are the three. There's a triptych of Jared and a triptych of Genevieve, which weren't real. They were made for the show, and they have since been auctioned.
I wonder if that Western one's been auctioned too.
Probably has.
Because that was pretty sweet. I loved it. But I also loved it because it was like, yeah, he's going to end up playing. No, I mean, obviously, I didn't know that at that time, but Walker, Texas Ranger on the C-Dub.
Oh, also, fun fact, the studio, when we get to see the name of the studio, it's KM Studios, which is another homage to Kim Manners, who was the producer of this show and of many, many episodes of The X-Files. So that's a fun fact.
Yes.
And they make references to Kim Manners all the time, which is pretty cool, I think. Obviously, he was a very beloved guy. Okay, so they go to pick up the packages. They show up on the set, and they're like, we're going to need you to clear this set. We got to do some actor stuff. And the Bobby Singer character is like, well, he mentions Dean Cain. He's like,
listen,
Dean
boys.
Cain used to do that kind of thing, and he was a real actor, but you're gonna do your actor stuff and we're gonna do our camera stuff, and that's gonna be the way it is. So then they're acting, and this is the best part,
and it's the
of
best
the
scene
thing.
in the whole episode. It's so
Jared
good.
and Jensen in character as Sam and Dean trying to act like they're
Sam and
so
Dean.
And they're like, they can't find their mark. They're looking at the camera.
They look anywhere but the camera. What do we do?
And it's just great. And it's so funny to see the people who are just like, what happened to them? And they're like, oh, they're importing body parts from foreign countries. We don't really know.
Which is also a great moment. What's in the box? I bought part of a dead guy's body.
And Misha's like, cool. Also, another fun fact, everything that Misha tweets, Misha tweeted. So, like, those tweets existed in real time. And the joke was like, oh, Misha's always tweeting from the set. So, for people who saw this show in real time, who also follow Misha on Twitter, were like, what is happening?
That's funny.
I thought that was cool.
That's great.
And then beep, bop, boop. Oh, they also, one of the producers like, well, according to Misha's celebrity tweet, they're doing this and that. I was like, that's so funny. So then they realize that there's no magic in this world, right? So this is a world where their life is fake. Yeah. So there's no magic, which means no angels. Well, right at that moment, take a drink.
Because here comes Virgil. But also, it gets so railroaded by that moment, because I think that's such a cool thing that they've proposed there in that moment in the world of Supernatural, is that our world exists in the Supernatural universe as a different universe, essentially, where none of that. Anyway, I thought that was like the deepest moment of the whole show, of a very meta episode and everything. I thought that moment where they're like, there is no God. It was pretty cool. I don't know. They don't say that very often in Supernatural, obviously. So I thought it was interesting.
And then my thought was, because Virgil also learns he can't do magic, and then they're really fighting, I felt like the punches should have hurt more. Right? Because many, many, many years later in the last season, we learned that they are protected by a kind of magic. Like, they're not like regular people, you know? They can take those punches because they have this sort of extra human luck. So, like, it should have hurt them to be punching each other.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Fun fact: the stunt guys are really Jared and Jensen's stunt guys.
Nice.
And I love that they're like, the stunt coordinator guy is like, I think Jared and Jensen just killed an extra. And so they're on the phone with all the producers, and the director are on the phone with the voice of the new showrunner, who's like, well, I'll come down there and talk to them. And they're like, well, to be fair, we don't really think that they know who you are, because like Kripke had stopped running the show at this point, and this was the new showrunner.
It's her name is
Sarah.
Oh shoot, Sarah Gammo.
It's in my notes somewhere.
I looked it up. It was on it's on there.
So Misha gets kidnapped by an angel. The boys have a meeting with Bobby Singer, and he's like, I would like you to think of me as Uncle Bob. You can't come to work on Poppers. and you can't come up
Wait, what kind of
with
guy
your
names a
own
TV character
lines.
after himself?
And then he's like, "We're the real Sam and Dean. Where we come from, we matter." And he's like, "Okay, cool. We can work with this. We've all had our psychotic breaks. We'll figure out a way around this." Hilarious. Virgil has Misha and he has the key, and apparently there's no magic in this world, but using throat blood to make a phone call still works.
Yep, absolutely.
Uh,
That was the one thing I was like, but you just said there's no magic, and then
yeah. So,
but I guess he was like, this might not work. It might not work. You know, he says that right before he does it. He's like, I don't know if this is gonna
but
work.
apparently it does. Otherwise, they
but
would have
I
all
gotta
just been
try.
stuck there.
Just,
Obviously, if they
right.
can get to this world, then like messages can get out or whatever. But so they go
Right.
back to Jared's house, and Genevieve's like, "Oh my god, someone killed Misha," and they're both just like, "Where?" So they find out from like the homeless guy who has the best memory and the most acute hearing ever, that he overheard a voice coming out of the bowl say to meet at the place of the crossing at the time of the crossing, and Raphael will reach through and bring you and the key home. Okay. Next we get a scene ripped out of the Terminator of Virgil at the gun store. So take a drink for a pop culture reference. The boys.
Wait, for what?
Because
For
that
which
scene
one?
where Virgil is in the gun store and he's like, "Well, you sure know your ordnance, right?" That's like almost like a shot for shot scene from the Terminator.
Yes.
Which you have to be watching really carefully. You have to notice.
You
If you know, you know. And then so back on the set, the boys are like, "Should we stay here? You know, no hell below us, above us only sky."
It's only sky. Love that line.
And of course, they're like, "Why would we do that? Like, yeah, our lives are weird and terrible, but at least they mean something. Like, what are we here? We're just actors on a TV show." So interesting, I think. And also, like, of course, the boys would always go back to the fight. Then we get Kripke. He's on the set. That's an actor. It's not Eric Kripke. It's
not. None of the. Only one of the like producers is the producer. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, murder is on. We get a big Kripke death scene. Bob Singer gets killed. He's killing people on set. There's a moment. So he kills the stunt coordinator and he kills one of the other producers. But the French producer guy
just dodges
right
it twice.
And dodges the bullet and just slowly walks away. So even though that producer is French, that has nothing to do with why this episode is called The French Mistake. It's called The French Mistake because it's a reference to the movie Blazing Saddles, where two characters go through a window, they break the fourth wall, literally and figuratively, and then there's a little dance number that is said to be called The French Mistake. And that is why this episode is called that.
Which makes it even a 1,000 times better.
And that's also, I would say the whole title is a pop culture reference, but I mean, when would you drink? I don't know.
Yeah.
So the boys beat up Virgil, they get the key back, and then they get sucked through the window to the real world where Raphael appears and Balthazar appears. So drink.
With the perfect moment being right before the commercial break, of course. We get a callback to when the boys came through the window and the video got like distorted because of like the magic, right? And Bobby Singer and one of the other directors are like, "Oh, like, you know, the signal cut out." And he's like, "Well, what can we do?" And he's like, "We'll just do a freeze frame and cut to commercial." Freeze frame in the window, cut to commercial. So of course that like when you hear that, you're like, "Oh, well, I know it's going to happen later on." You know they're going to do it. And of course they do. And it's still great. It's the perfect moment. When they go back to their world, they do the freeze frame. Anyway, I love it.
It is very, very meta. So then Balthazar explains that the key is worthless, that they were just trying to get the angels to go play fetch, and that the boys were merely an adequate stick to chase. Such a good line. Such good writing for Balthazar. Like, I love him and I miss him.
That key will open a locker at the Albany bus depot.
He's great. And then Castiel appears. He has the weapons. They're with me.
Take a drink.
This is the distant bad cast. This is the cast who is still like
Yeah.
so concerned about heaven and just isn't the fun, mellowed out cast that will get many, many seasons later. This is perhaps like the seriousest Castiel in this season and the next season.
This is pre ass butt?
No, this
cast?
is post ass butt. That's
this
in
is post ass
Swan Song.
butt, but he's just not fun.
But then after this is like when this season is when he tries to steal all the souls from purgatory, and eventually at the beginning of the next season ends up releasing the Leviathans.
Right.
So if there's a bit of fun too, where like as soon as Castiel is gone and it's just them left at Bobby's house, they're sort of replicating a bit of the scene that they shot that they couldn't do, right? So Jared like walks toward the camera, hits his mark, says his lines, touches the wall, and it's like it's nice to see them acting in the scene that they sort of biffed earlier a bit.
Right.
And then they're like, well, here's the bad news. We're broke. And then Jared says, at least we're talking. And that's the show. I love it. It's so great. So here are the fun facts I didn't get to tell you yet. So Entertainment Weekly, as the show wrapped up, did their top episodes. And this was episode 2. They said the best ever episode was season 5, episode 22, Swan Song. So the end of season 5. And the one after this is another favorite of mine, which we'll be doing very soon. Season 11, Baby, which is from the Cars. Of course, such a good episode.
Yeah. One of all.
Let's see, what else didn't I tell you?
I don't think I drank. If I remember right, I don't think I drank for the Blue Steel Zoolander reference. There's so many references that you just can't always. Oh, the no hell below us, above us only skies, of John Lennon lyric.
Sarah Gamble is the name of the showrunner at this point. So according to the official IMDb, there are only 5 deaths in this episode.
Okay, so I counted.
Well, because you were counting the thens.
I did count the thens. And I think I probably counted. There's he shoots someone who walks in to the gun shop. I don't know if they're counting that as a person because you don't see the person inside. Yeah, okay. I probably did. I probably just started counting every time he shot the gun.
So my count was 6 pop culture references. So that's 6 drinks. 3 season 6 references. So up to 9. 8 angels appearing. So we're at 17. 18, 19, 20, 21. At least they're talking. And then 5. I actually got 7. Someone dies. And then 1 shot for the wings and 1 shot for the wink.
What about real life?
Oh, I did. Oh, here we go. I only counted 3 of those.
Oh, wow. Okay. Everything makes sense. Everything makes sense now. Okay. Sorry, I'm back on the microphone. First of all, I just want to say I watched this, and my drinks were the drinks that I had were a Topo Chico Ranch Water 24-ounce can. That's what I started out with, and then because I ran out of that, I had to switch to the Miller Lite 24-ounce can. And for the shots, I did some Telluride Distilling single malt mountain mash whiskey.
Ooh, that does sound lovely.
It was quite. I believe it was an afternoon, and I sat and watched this, and it was great. As far as the rules, what I got, here's what I tallied up: pop culture / social media. I got 14.
Oh dang! You're right. I wasn't counting I missed the counting of the Above Us Only Sky and the Blue Steel.
Right. And then dude looks like a lady. There's so many just lines, references to anything. Season 6, I got 3, same as you. Angels in and out, I had 10, 14 of those.
You definitely had a lot more than me.
Yeah, because I was counting again, I think there's even one in the then and now. I think there's one. I counted Balthazar 3 times in that beginning scene. Then you have when Raphael shows up, Castiel shows up at the end, and they both leave. So like I was drinking for in and out.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah. So I wasn't just drinking like anytime they showed up. I was doing like exit and entrance.
Well, then I think if you were,
which is why that Balthazar at the beginning was like, God dang.
Well, that's why I think. So I think if you were gonna play this game, and when we offer it to you as a drinking game for this episode, I'm gonna nix the pop culture. Well, I don't know, because what would you nix? Because
No,
it's so
I think
fun
I
to
don't
listen
know.
to the pop culture references. So would
Right.
you nix the angels?
I wouldn't nix anything. I think it's great. No, maybe if I were to nix anything, I think Angels In and Out would be the one, especially depending on how liberal you want to be with real life. Because I was super liberal.
That's what we'd have
with
to,
the real life,
because it's just, to me, it was a way to
stuff.
point out the things that are real, like, you know. So let's nix that,
which
one
I think is fun.
It's too ambivalent,
It's a little vague.
Too vague.
Yeah, in this episode, in the meta episode, like, yeah. But again, I don't know. I think it's fun, and I think you can have fun with it. Do what you want, people.
Live your best life.
Do what you want.
We are trying to provide them with a drinking game for this episode.
And we're call an option. Do whatever you feel like. Two options there.
I also wanted to just add the note that like both Misha and Jensen say this is their favorite episode. So my goal as we go forward in this most recent batch of episodes is going to be to try and determine what my favorite episode is by picking the ones that are in the running. So this one is definitely in the running for me for possibly being my favorite episode.
Okay. I would say it's up there for me for sure. I love anything that's meta, and this just is obviously right in there.
This one's right.
The whole thing. It's all so perfect. Yeah.
Okay, on to the special segment.
Today's special segment from our episode of The French Mistake is actually an ode. Today's segment is an ode to one Brian Doyle Murray. And Krissy, do you know who Brian Doyle Murray is?
I know the name. I feel like I should know. Right.
You should. I've actually avoided saying his name all night because we've said the character several times.
Is one of the producers?
He plays Bobby Singer.
The actor, yes.
Brian Doyle Murray, beloved character actor, 165 IMDb acting credits as of this day. Who knows? Tomorrow there could be more. A man whose voice and face you know instantly, but maybe not his name. Perhaps you giggle because he's the mean Mr. Shirley who only gives Clark Griswold a Jelly of the Month club as a Christmas bonus, and as a result, he's kidnapped by Randy Quaid. Maybe you cringe because he's the arcade mogul turned public access TV sponsor Noah Vanderhoff in Wayne's World. Maybe you've seen him on the small screen in one of the plethora of TV shows he's appeared on. My personal favorite is Mr. Stavinsky, the mean boss from the early 2000s CBS sitcom Yes Dear. I don't know if you remember that one. It was probably pretty terrible if I went back and watched it now. Anyway, he's in it. He's also he's Patricia Heaton's boss on The Middle. He was on Married with Children. I love it because in this episode he plays Bobby Singer, but on Seinfeld he plays a character named Mel Sanger, the father of the Bubble Boy. If you're a little younger, you might recognize him as the voice of the Flying Dutchman from the SpongeBob SquarePants series and video games, which is where like a ton of his IMDb credits come from. And if you're older, you might recognize him from his 4 seasons on Saturday Night Live in the late 70s and 80s. He also was in a bunch of different movies like Scrooged and JFK and Groundhog Day. But we should all remember that aside from being one of the most prolific character actors in Hollywood, aside from the fact that he's in National Lampoon's Vacation and Christmas Vacation as different characters, aside from the fact that he is the only surviving credited writer of the movie Caddyshack, is that he is the older brother, nay, shepherd and guide to the one, the only, Bill freaking Murray. And that is the ode to Brian Doyle Murray, without whom we would probably not have Bill Murray. So I tip my cat doth of the cap to thee, Mr. Brian Doyle Murray. You are, so I just, yeah, he's everywhere. He does everything.
And so
like,
iconic, and yeah, I loved him as Uncle. I hope you think of me as Uncle Bobby.
Uncle Bobby, and I couldn't think of a better person to just play that role. Oh gosh, I just like anytime I see him in something, my heart is warmed. Like I love that he plays Bobby Singer in this. And so yeah, when you were like, let's do it, yeah, I just wanted to do something on him because he's just been in so many wonderful, awesome things. And so and with that note, I'm going to take it from here. I'm going to segue into previewing our next episode.
So that was then. This is next. The road so far.
Next.
The road ahead.
As I mentioned, Mr. Murray played one Noah Vanderhoff in Wayne's World. So I will be making our next episode is going to be from season 7, episode 18, entitled Party on, Garth.
Oh, I love Garth.
Yeah, Garth is awesome. One of my favorite side characters. And this episode is very fun.
Season 7, episode
18.
And do you know your rules yet?
Yes. I do have rules.
All right, lay them on us so that our listeners can play along.
All right. You're going to take a sip. Again, a sip or whatever you're comfortable with. Anytime a character is taking a drink. This is going to be the most ambiguous rule. Anytime you just have a classic Garth moment. And I'm going to say anytime like the boys have a look on their face that is like, oh, classic Garth, that's when you're going to take a drink. Just one drink. Someone dies, take a drink, take the 2 drinks if you remember their name. Pop culture reference, we're going to take a drink for that. I think that's going to be a pretty standard rule on a lot of one. It is fun. And like anytime we're playing any sort of drinking game, like pop culture reference is always just kind of like a standard rule. Just, And then is it Bobby? That's going to be a 2-drinker. You know what? Maybe a 2-drinker to a finish your drinker. I don't know. Maybe I'll update on the next episode. But is it Bobby is the last rule. Okay. So, yeah, that's the Party on Garth. If you know anything about the episode, the first rule should get you wasted. If you're taking a drink. If you're taking a full drink, you'll get drunk. If you're sipping, you'll be fine.
I love Garth. I love his journey on the show, and I love where they left him.
Yep. He's got such a great arc. It's early in his arc. It's it's only his 2nd episode.
I love it.
So
great choice. I can't wait. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with that episode, with Nate doing the recap and Krissy doing a special surprise segment. So be sure to join us and rate, review, give us feedback. We appreciate it. We're not sponsored by anybody. This is just something that we do because we love the show and we like to chat with each other. So also please remember, when you're out there in the world saving people, hunting things, the family business, do keep the most excellent podcast motto in mind. Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Party on, dudes.